Welcome to another review edition of the Simply Put podcast. My name, of course, is Micki Angeles, and joining me today is my friend, filmmaker, Roger Dacosta. So, Roger, why don't you introduce yourself to the Simply Put audience?
Hey everyone, my name is Roger Dacosta. I'm a film director and film producer, and also one of the good friends of Micki Angeles over here. Thank you very much for having me here. And
You are very well had.
No, thank you.
So today we're going to be giving our review of Warner Brothers' Edge of Tomorrow.
I'm going to tell you a story. At first, it's going to sound ridiculous. But the longer I talk,
We have to find the keys.
the more rational it's going to appear.
I can't believe you found coffee.
Sugar, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. 3. You like 3.
How many times have we been here? How many times?
For me, it's been an eternity.
This is not the end.
The invasion will fail. We lose everything.
This is not the end.
I die within 5 minutes of landing on that beach, along with every other soldier.
How did you do that?
Come on!
Come find me when you wake up.
You do know what's happening to me.
What happened to you happened to me. You hijacked their power.
How do I control it?
You have to die. Every day. Keep coming here and I'll train you. Again. Your leg's broken.
No, I'm good.
Then you better start over.
Oh, come on! I'm not a soldier.
Of course you're not. You're a weapon. They want to conquer the rest of the world. Unless you change the outcome.
We are not equipped for what's out there.
How many times have we been here? What are you not telling me?
It's gonna be dark in a few hours.
And curl up by the fire and open a bottle of wine. We should just reset.
Whoa!
All right. So, coming from a press release from Warner Brothers, they describe Edge of Tomorrow as an alien race has hit the Earth in an unrelenting assault which was unbeatable by any military unit in the world. Major William Cage, played by Tom Cruise, is an officer who has never seen a day of combat when he is unceremoniously dropped into what amounts to a suicide mission. Killed within minutes, Cage now finds himself inexplicably thrown into a time loop, forcing him to live out the same brutal combat over and over, fighting and dying again and again. But with each battle, Cage becomes able to engage the adversaries with increasing skill alongside Special Force warrior Rita Ratinsky, played by Emily Blunt. And as Cage and Rita take the fight to the aliens, each repeated encounter gets them one step closer to defeating the enemy. So luckily for us guys, me and Roger were able to go to the screening of Edge of Tomorrow last Wednesday, May 28th at the AMC Lowe's Lincoln Square Auditorium. What was supposed to be just a regular screener ended up to kind of being a red carpet event, which is good for us.
Yeah, I pretty much was told, hey man, you want to go to a screening? And I said, sure, no problem. And then I was told, hey, it's actually not a screening, it's actually the premiere on a red carpet. And then I was told, hey, yeah, wear a suit. And then I was told, yeah, the film's at midnight. Okay, I'll be there. So we showed up, and little beholds, we're waiting online. We get inside, we sit down, we're all dressed up, and Thomas Malfoy Cruz III himself walks in, and the crowd goes wild. I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but I pretty much screamed out how much I loved him in Minority Report.
And as well, me and him locked eyes. I called him Jerry, and then he said he loved me for some reason.
Yeah, it was weird.
And the best part was probably when he started walking and someone told him to run, and that was kind of hilarious inside.
Because everybody runs. It's a reference to Minority Report. Anyway, let's get into this.
All right, guys. So you know how this works by now. We're gonna give our overall non-spoiler review for those who haven't seen it yet. Obviously, most of you probably have it because it hasn't come out yet. And after that, we're gonna go heavy spoilers. But of course, before we do that, we'll let you know. So you can give us a pause, or you could come back and put us on your favorites, and watch the movie, and then see if you agree with us or not.
Yep.
All right, so I guess I'll start it off with the non-spoiler review. I think Doug Liman's Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, had me from the word go. It was a full-throttle action movie that gave sci-fi junkies like myself a call to action and prepare for war. The movie does not waste time getting us into the fight and cheering on mankind. Tom Cruise was true to form to who he is as an action hero. He delivers a charming performance as a reluctant hero who gains the will and courage to save us. And Emily Blunt does very well as a female lead. She had a very strong presence in the film, reinforcing that womankind can kick butt also. Edge of Tomorrow was a true summer blockbuster without taking away any of the heart. It was a one-way ticket to an emotional roller coaster. The 3D was top-notch. Luckily for us, we saw it in IMAX. That was amazing. It had set pieces jumping off the screen. I'm already excited for that, so I definitely agree. You should go and watch it. Roger, what did you think about the film?
Okay, so I don't think it was necessarily a film of the heart necessarily, but I thought from the get-go, if you are like me and you're a fan of Thomas Malfoy Cruz III, some might say his full entire name, you will absolutely love Edge of Tomorrow. From beginning to end, this film was non-stop entertainment. And what I mean by that, I mean like you laughed, you didn't cry, but you felt bad inside, and you enjoyed every moment of it. From the visual effects to the story arc to the various plot points to the way the action displayed. Tom Cruise's character as well as Emily Blunt's character tore through the enemies of this film with grace and with just carnage, and you just loved every minute of it. With a clock time, I think, of 137 minutes, the film felt like less than that. You wanted more. This is actually one of the first films that which aren't part of the superhero canon, which I thought there was going to be like an Easter egg of some sort. It was weird. I recommend it to anyone, to all little boys and girls out there. I recommend it. It's really good, and it's good for your health.
All right, so that's basically a call to action to go watch this film, which comes out, I believe, June 6th.
Watch it.
So get your tickets there. So now you've got our non-spoiler review. We are going to go full-blown spoilers, so if you're listening up to this point, you definitely want to give it a pause, or add to your favorites, or watch later, whichever form you're watching us in or listening to us. So we're going to go spoiler reviews. We're going to go fully with the positives. I'm going to have our guest here, Roger Dacosta, kind of start us off. So we are in spoiler territory. So, Roger, what are some of the positives you took away from this film?
Okay, E.T. Gets Home. No, I'm joking. That's a different film. All right, so hopefully you guys haven't downloaded this torrent illegally, and you guys actually went to the theaters to watch this film. Now, I know wherever you are, wherever you're hearing this, tickets are probably $1 million. So first, let me just say, it's a requirement to see this film in IMAX. Like, it's a requirement to drink water, it's a requirement to breathe, it's required to watch this film in IMAX. Where do I start? I don't want to get carried away, and I don't want to talk too much because you won't be there forever. But let me start from the beginning of the film to even the credits. I was absolutely engaged and entertained. One great thing about it is that Tom Cruise is actually funny. Like, I know he's been in other films where he's had hints of being funny. Like, if you guys seen Vanilla Sky, Or you guys seen what's that other film that he was in? Jerry Maguire. I mean, he was funny in that, and he played off Cooper very well. But this film, the first 30 minutes, you will be laughing your ass off. And why is that? Another good point. Tom, he's a loser in this film. His character, what's his character's name, Mickey? I'm sorry.
William Cage.
William Cage is nothing like Johnny Cage. He is a loser.
Or Nicolas Cage.
Or Nicholas Coppola. Okay, whatever. All right. He is tried and true a loser who doesn't want to be in this film. And who wants to be in the film, but doesn't want to be placed in war. And when I tell you that he is believable and convincing, it's great. The reason why I love the fact that he's a loser is because it's so not Tom Cruise. It's refreshing. The last time I saw Tom Cruise that he was actually a different kind of character, a different kind of person, was in fact Steven Spielberg's Minority Report, which came out June 21st, 2002. I actually almost didn't go to prom because I wanted to watch that movie instead. True story. I'll keep on going. The first 30 minutes were absolutely hilarious, and you never expect it. You will love it. Another great plot point. If I'm dragging on, please stop me. Thank you. Another great plot point were the aliens. So the aliens in this film were called mimics. Now, I did some research, and this film actually came from a manga called what's it called, Mick?
It's called All You Need Is Kill, which actually was the original title of this movie. So the big madman in Madison said, no one wants to go to a movie see Kill. That kind of rips your box office in half. So they have renamed it Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah,
that makes sense considering Kill Bill made a ton of money. Anyway, so the design of the aliens, the mimics, was absolutely brilliant. Now, when I was watching it with Mickey, one thing that came into my mind, and I'm pretty sure it came into his, but the aliens were a combination of like the aliens from the Matrix, the machines. I forgot what they're called. Yeah, to me, the mimics resembled animalistic versions of the Matrix machines when they're in the Matrix. I don't even know what they're called, but they're very squids. I think.
They're like squids, but they're taking on this like lion-esque, dog-esque kind of form in this movie.
They're pack hunters. One thing I love, which I gotta say,
that's a good point.
What?
That they're pack hunters.
Yeah, they're pack hunters.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
One thing I gotta say, which I absolutely love, was the speed of these aliens. Jeez, when I saw this, I could. Usually when you watch films, they usually show aliens or creatures or robots which are strong and fast, but you're able to take them down. You believe that you could take that down with some ingenuity. But in this film, the aliens were so fast, you can tell that they could just tear right through you. Like I was intimidated watching it. I was like, holy! If I was in that situation, it would be Groundhog's Day for me. I would die hundreds and hundreds of times. It was brilliant. Another thing that I want to talk about is the unforced love story. There's so many things. I know I'm jumping back and forth.
Yes.
It was unforced. Like Emily Blunt's character, Rita, she didn't fall for Tom Cruise and vice versa. Tom Cruise cared for her. Tom Cruise wanted her to live, but Tom Cruise didn't want to love her. Actually, another comedic part of the film is that Tom Cruise actually wanted to kind of have sex with her, and he was hinting at it. You got to watch it to see all the details, but it was brilliant. And Mick, anything? I can go on forever.
Oh my God! First, let me fix your mic.
Sorry.
I don't know. I can't top this animated Roger, which I love, because you know what? As soon as we got in the movie, we couldn't even say one word of how good we enjoyed this film. It took us like a minute. We sat in the car. We were kind of like breathing. We looked at each other in a non-homosexual way, though there's nothing wrong with that.
Don't judge.
I don't know. I think the cinematography was really good. I like the cut scenes. I liked how as soon as the credits rolled, we were already in the movie. It already told you the entire story, just like the way Godzilla did in those first 2 minutes of where we're at when we start this film. I love Tom Cruise in this, because Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise, he wasn't playing like a Johnny Depp who's trying to find where Johnny Depp is. He was hilarious. Emily Blunt was a strong lead. I definitely agree with Roger about the unforced love story. If you didn't understand, the premise of this entire movie is that well, since it's a spoiler, I'm gonna go fully spoiler into how he gets it. Basically, there's levels of these mimics. There is the alpha, which is basically the brain trust of all these hunters who report back to what they call the Omega, which is basically the mama bear. So the way the movie starts out is Tom Cruise gets basically he gets demoted, and the way he gets demoted is so smart, because you got to understand, if you watch Saving Private Ryan, and I'm not comparing this to Saving Private Ryan, but like in World War II, there are these people who were just teachers. There's people who were just doctors who were just forced into war. And the thing that Tom Cruise's character was good at was advertising. You know, so he was advertising this war. He was getting people amped up to fight. So when the way Roger described him as a loser, kind of, only is the fact that he had no military experience. He was coming from the advertising of this war. So when the character
Cage
was coming from this character played by Brendan Gleeson called General Brigham, who told Cage, which was Tom Cruise, that he's actually going to be fighting this war, it was very shock and awe for him. He didn't understand. He tried to get away, and then basically he got set up and put into he was basically forced into war. And mind you, Master Sergeant Farrell, played by Bill Paxton, was probably the most hilarious supporting actor in this film, and I loved him. I loved him because he was an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when he did his cameo. But then in this movie, seeing Bill Paxton, it just put a smile on my face because he was such a great reporting actor. So there's some backstory. So when the war comes, obviously he didn't know what the hell he's doing. He's attached to these Elysium-type mech warrior things, and had guns, they had grenades, all this stuff. So he gets into war, and basically he sees these monsters and he gets scared. He kills a few, luckily by happenstance, but the big boy Alpha, he demolishes the Alpha, and the Alpha's blood goes into Tom Cruise, which gets him in this Groundhog's Day kind of time lapse, where every time he dies, he just goes back to the same place. So that was the big positive I liked about this science fiction film is it gave you the parameters of this entire film, and it never strayed from it. It always kept up with the rules. Everything happened very logically within these realms. So, oh my goodness, I really got to figure out where to start with this because there's so many positives. Maybe if we go scene by scene, maybe let's go by that scene. How'd you feel with the initial quote unquote Normandy? It's kind of funny that it starts in France, but the Normandy type World War II battle of these guys who's just going into war not knowing that they're going to get ambushed.
Okay, let me just, as a filmmaker, I watch all kinds of films. So when War of the Worlds came out with Tom Cruise, everyone said that the invasion of the aliens was pretty much the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, but science fiction. And I didn't think.
No, I definitely disagree with that. I don't think it. Right. I would agree with you disagreeing with that.
Right. But this film was literally Normandy, like 1942, but science fiction. It was absolutely terrifying. And though there wasn't any blood or gore, the threat of violence and the extreme of violence, and not only that, when Tom Cruise's character along with other soldiers landed on the beach, for the first 5 minutes of the battle, you didn't see the aliens. You didn't see them.
All you saw was the blast coming from a direction and not seeing them. So but then when you look at the fighters, they're so amped up to go in this fight, but as soon as the enemy reveals itself,
good luck.
There's no way. The way Roger talked about in his initial positives, they were very fast. They know where they were designed to kill. Yeah. And it was great to see the Emily Blunt character appear because she was like raging against all these people. She was a good champion. And that's when our two leads meet.
Yep.
In the initial battle scene.
She will be your champion. That's a reference. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, when those two characters meet, I'm trying to contain myself because there's so many great things. But another great scene, which I could certainly recall, was there's pretty much a montage of Tom Cruise dying in various ways, and it was a blend of both comedy, but at the same time, it just showed the realities of war. It was a perfect balance between the two.
And I have to agree with that because if you watch Groundhog's Day, it was hilarious with Bill Murray. But the scenes got very repetitive, very the same. Whereas the way they treated it, it was basically the progression of the character. He learned that if you do it this way, it's not going to work, so he does it another way. And he figures and figures and figures it. And it's not like step 1 to step 2 to step 3. It was like step 1, step 5, step 10, step 1,000. So the progression I didn't find as tedious as some critics may feel it is. But the way they handled it was hilarious. And the comedy in this film was probably its like shining surprise as soon as I think the first lines Tom Cruise ever spoke.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like, why am I laughing?
Yeah.
Like, this movie's called Edge of Tomorrow. There's so much action. Why am I laughing? This is weird. And to the point where I was thinking, maybe we're at the premiere, and because Tom Cruise was there, is why everyone's laughing. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's feeding off of him being in the audience and watching it with us. But that's not the case. The movie was thoroughly entertaining. Even the montage scene. There's a scene where, this is a spoiler alert, right? There's a scene where Tom Cruise was trained with Emily Blunt. And through training in like the danger room, so to speak, he pretty much breaks his legs, and he's begging Emily Blunt to not shoot him. He's like, no, my legs are fine, and she like stands over him with a gun, and he's like, oh, and then boom, shoots him in the head, and he wakes up again, and it happens over and over again. But at the same time, he grows and grows and grows, and we laugh and laugh and laugh. It was great. It was wonderful.
And the thing about that too was, without being tiresome, like we said, there came a point when you realized that it wasn't day 5, day 6. It like was like day 50, day 100, because Tom Cruise's I guess skill level was going up to parts Emily Blunt. Well, basically what happened, the reason they connected was Emily Blunt's character, Rita. She actually had this. She actually killed an alpha. The blood came up to her, and then she was living through these things. That's why she was the champion. That's why when they referred to Rita as, Full Metal Bitch, she's basically, the story is that she came into this land and she killed 100 of these mimics, and suddenly she got injured and she couldn't regain this power because of the blood transfusion. I think that was a great addition to a rule. So it gave us a hope to like, oh my goodness. So when that scene came, when Tom Cruise got in that car accident and they gave him the blood transfusion, you're like, everybody in the audience realized, oh shit, this is the last life.
Now you knew that was gonna happen. It was like, as you're watching, you realize if he gets a blood transfusion, it's over. Like he loses it. So when it happens, even though you know it's coming, you're still like, oh man, what are they gonna do now? You're still entertained. See, the brilliant thing about this film, like any films, like in the end, or certain scenes, you know what's gonna happen, but you don't care that it's gonna happen. What you're interested in is how it happens, and you're still entertained. You still want to watch it after that particular scene. I mean, I can go on forever. Mickey, is there anything you want to add, or?
Yeah, let me add a little bit more things to this movie.
Yeah.
The way I talked about the 3D, the way the 3D handled, it was like it gave you why you came to watch 3D, and that was it. It wasn't like everything was going to be 3. Every punch swung is going to be a punch to your face. They took care of that in the initial day of Normandy. The way, basically, the mimics already knew they were coming. So in Tom Cruise's carrier, it got attacked way before they were supposed to drop. So all the 3D images started coming to you there, and then you got your fill 3D. Now it's time for the story. Mm-hmm. I like how they handled that. The IMAX definitely helped with every single action piece. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was just like, it felt like it was really happening. And it's a sci-fi film, so it's like weird. We might not even be too far off. This is a small positive, but I like that the United States wasn't under attack. I like that they brought it to a different venue, being in France. I like the fact that the supporting characters were hilarious in their own right. I think they were called Class J or Section J or Troop
H,
J, whatever.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I think Kit Gurry's Griff was hilarious as the tech guy. We really talk about Bill Paxton, Tony Way as the fat, obnoxious guy. Oh, the armor. I like the way the armor represented that kind of character. Tony Way played Kimmel, which was a more heavy set guy. So you look at him, he's probably more like Demolition. So his armor was like a little bit more gigantic. You had Kick Duran was more of an engineer, so his was a little bit more light, so he could fix problems. And I like that, Emily Blunt was actually a tour de force in this. She was actually a character where the guy isn't always saving the day. Because the whole entire point was Rita was supposed to go and kill the Omega.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
that was what they were playing to.
Okay,
And I like
okay.
the emotion that Tom Cruise gave Emily Blunt, because Emily Blunt's character has gone through this before, right?
Yeah.
And she goes through it. So she's basically, not to be very pundit, but she's like the alpha of that group.
Irony. Okay. Yeah.
But then Tom Cruise just goes day after day after day 1000 or day 1001.
Yeah.
And he just cannot get to this point where Emily Blunt's character probably never ever got close to. That's why I feel like Tom Cruise just was like, that's why the love story was like so not so forced down our throats, because basically it was a mission to kill these things, and through these thousands of journeys into the same battlefield, he starts to fall in love with Emily Blunt.
Yeah, he starts to fall in love. Like, I'm thinking about what Micki is saying. And I'm thinking there's a scene where they get farther. Well, Emily Blunt's character gets as far as she's ever been with Tom Cruise. And they then find a helicopter to fly to the final location where what the Omega, which is like, the CPU of a computer, the motherboard of a computer is. And pretty much, she's asking Tom Cruise for the keys. Initially, Tom pretends he's ignorant to the location of the keys, and then you realize he knows where the keys are. And not only that, you realize he's been there. When Emily Blunt asks him, how many times have you been here? The look on his face has indicated he's been there dozens, even hundreds of times. And then she says, why are we repeating the same thing? He says, no matter how much I try different things, at this point is where you die. You don't get past this point. She says, why do I matter, as you see in the trailer? And he doesn't answer. And I love that. He didn't say, you're beautiful. He didn't say, because, I've grown to love you. He just gave her this look, a look of silence. And then you can assume whatever you want. But you knew one thing. He has grown feelings for her. He has empathy for her. He cares about her. He wants her to live. And the sheer fact that he didn't acknowledge it, even in the ending, which is another great point. In the ending, pretty much Tom Cruise destroys the Omega, and right before that happens, Emily Blunt's character dies. So Tom Cruise destroys the Omega, and then he's brought back, and then in the end, he sees her. He sees Emily Blunt, and Emily Blunt has no idea who he is. So the last look he gives her is a smile, and there are tears in his eyes, just like not pouring, but his eyes are watery, and he smiles when she says, "What do you want?" And it cuts to black, because a great film can't answer. It can't be as concrete to show how much he loves her, But the sheer fact that he has tears in his eyes and he's smiling and he has a crazy story to tell and it just cuts to black, it adds so much mystery and so much wonder to their relationship.
And I agree with that, and 100%. So I really can't add anything more to it. The little thing I could add to it is, this definitely is just my speculation. There's nothing tying this film to another, but I felt like this ending was like a makeup to Oblivion.
Oh,
because
that's right.
3/4 of Oblivion I was in love with. I was like, oh my god, here's Tom Cruise. I'm in love with this. Sci-fi, Tom Cruise, and then the ending was just nothing. It was there's nothing tying everything together. It was a BS of clones, and it's like, oh my goodness. But this ending in Edge of Tomorrow just was like a kind of a wink. I don't know. To me, that's what it felt like. It felt like, as a person who paid money to watch Oblivion, this was getting my money back, sort of. Technically, it was, because we didn't pay for this screening, but I'm gonna go watch this movie again and again and again and again. And I can't. It's one of these movies where I told Mr. J Man, as soon as this comes on Blu-ray, we're watching this on your TV.
Oh my god.
Because, like I said, the cinematography is great, the IMAX is great, the action pieces was amazing. Roger loved the design. I love the design. And just to end the positives off, it was like a great culmination of Groundhog's Day, just for the simple fact of it's re-entering the same kind of situation. You throw in Starship Troopers, some Matrix references, and you get and maybe some Bourne Identity kind of thing, which Doug Liman was responsible for, and we continue with that. Any last positives, Roger?
Any last positives? Pretty much what everything Micki said. I mean, technically, the film was an achievement. Like I said before, like I'm a filmmaker, and as a filmmaker, you have to utilize various locations to shoot a film. But since this film was repeating over and over again, they utilized the same exact location for most of the film extremely well,
without getting boring.
And I think it's the last. There are many more, but I think that's the last thing I'm probably gonna say for positives.
Okay, negatives. Do you have any negatives?
Negatives.
I have very little. So
there aren't that many. I mean,
not that many really.
I have a few. One of the negatives. As much as I really enjoy the ending, the ending where just Tom Cruise is just smiling at a rather ignorant and unknowing Emily Blunt. I thought that the film was so creative. Throughout the whole entire thing, it was so creative in the way they executed certain plot points, the way they executed Tom's rise and fall and rise again. The ending was a bit conventional. It kind of just I didn't feel I didn't care about the ending. Like if I spoke to people about the film, the ending, even though you don't want to mention, the ending is something I would easily forget, which I don't think is a good thing for any great film.
Okay, see, this is my thing about the ending, because now I'm kind of figuring out, this may be a positive, it may not, but it's definitely going to battle that point you just brought up. Okay. At the end, they basically find out that the Omega, which is what Roger refers to as a CPU, which kind of makes sense. It's like the Shatari mothership, whatever, if you're a big Avenger fan. It's not in the place where it was supposed to be. It ends up being in the Louvre, and you got to get the ragtag bunch to get into to that. And then, yes, Emily Blunt's character dies, and then right before they're going to kill the Omega, Tom Cruise goes in and does the job and does the deed of killing the Omega, which he dies afterwards. But then the Omega wraps himself around Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah.
And then we're taken to one of the initial scenes of the movie where Tom Cruise is flying in a helicopter to go and meet with Gleeson's character.
So this scene, sorry to cut you off, Micki. This scene happens after Omega wraps itself around Tom Cruise. He wakes up. He wakes up in a place before the place he's always waking up throughout the film. He wakes up before that. I think a day before that, 2 days before that.
And that's, it could be a negative because I didn't understand what that means. That's probably one of my positives, maybe, because I didn't understand why he would go there, because the look on Tom Cruise's face when he wakes up was, holy shit, I did this for nothing. I don't know what's gonna happen. Then when he because everything's happening the same way before he gets discharged into battle, and he sees the TV screen, and Gleeson's character is saying that we have won the war, blah blah blah. Okay, fine. So he doesn't have to fight, and then after he doesn't have to fight, the first person he seeks out is Emily Blunt's character, which was Rita, and then they did the ending. So that's where I'm kind of saying, I'm like, I kind of like the ending that way, because he was so unsure. It wasn't that conventional. We were not sure to what happened. Did the Omega rebuild itself? And then when we find out it didn't, the first thing he looked for was Emily Blunt, and then, hopefully she believes the story.
See, once he killed the Omega, and his corpse was literally being enveloped by the Omega, he woke up, and he woke up a few days before the initial time he wakes up. So what I didn't like was, why did he wake up before? Was it because? Yeah. Was it because
that's
the Omega?
That's my little negative. Yeah.
Yeah. Did it absorb so much into him that he woke up before? This is what I'm thinking. But it wasn't explained. Like, I felt kind of like, what? Like, it would have been better that if he woke up in the same exact time that he woke up all the times before, but maybe in a different location. Like he woke up in bed. and look at the clock, and you saw that it was the same exact day, same exact time. But he woke up before, as if more of the Omega led to him going farther back in time, which they never explained that.
Yeah.
They never explained
So that's
that.
so that's a little negative, that I would say. But other than that little small speck in my mind, I still liked it. Any more negatives coming from you?
Okay, yeah, actually another negative, which is not a big deal because you forget it quickly. The opening scene is pretty much like a commercial for this war. And I thought the opening scene was kind of thrown at you, and I couldn't retain the information. Like after the opening commercial, I kind of just said, "Well, I'll figure out what the film is about after that." I didn't read any trailer. I didn't watch any synopsis. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't read any synopsis about the film prior to actually going. I wanted to be fully surprised and engaged. But the beginning didn't really explain anything to me. All I knew that there was war.
Yeah,
that's it.
It was similar to the fact of Godzilla, just for the fact that it was supposed to explain where we at, kind of like cutting the story in half. But yeah, there was some information that you couldn't really retain because basically it was just war, come and fight, war, come and fight, without explaining, hey, we're fighting this,
and there are aliens, there are aliens. So it wasn't explained. It wasn't done well. I don't think so personally.
But to me, it explained the armor. If that's just probably the only thing it probably did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Explain the armor.
And
yes.
It kind of gave us a brief synopsis of who this character, Tom Cruise's William Cage character, is going to be, because basically all he's doing is saying, "Oh, we got this." He was like the Mr. Propaganda for the war, maybe.
Right. Yeah. You're right. Another negative. I mean, I'll be real quick, but it's forgiving. I don't like the armor. I wasn't a fan of the armor. But then again, it's a personal gripe. You'll like it and you'll certainly accept it. The equipment is suitable for the war in which they're having. I just didn't like it aesthetically, personally. But that's not something for you guys to to necessarily take my word for. That's more subjective than me giving a general opinion, really.
All right, so that wraps up our spoiler review of Edge of Tomorrow. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go give us some big old ratings for this film, and for me, I will be giving Edge of Tomorrow 9 out of 10, which keeps it up par with Days of Future Past, still not beating the big boy of Captain America. How about you, Roger?
All right, so this is my first time, doing this. So just to let you know, I think a 10 at a film is Minority Report, which came out June 21st, 2002. You guys should watch it on Blu-ray. I also think another 10, let's say, is American Beauty. So I give this film, and also the Captain America is a 9.5. Okay, I give this film a 9. I also give it a 9 too. From beginning to end, it was absolutely entertaining. I couldn't stop talking about it. Even after watching it, I went online to read about it. I read about the Japanese manga. I keep forgetting what it's called. What is it called?
It is called All You Need Is Kill.
All You Need Is Kill. I read about that too. So I give it a 9. It has amazing replay value. I actually want to find the video game. It's also a video game too. And a 9.
All right, you got two 9s from Micki and Roger with IMDb. It is given an 8.1. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 95%. And for the limited release going audience, it was also at 95%, keeping into what we have to say, basically. So this is a new segment that we just introduced a few episodes ago. We're going to have one sentence to describe what Edge of Tomorrow means to us. And I'll give that first off to Roger. One sentence. What does Edge of Tomorrow mean to Roger Dacosta?
So my one sentence is this. Absolutely do not watch this movie if you love comedy, intelligent story, entertainment, engaging action, science fiction, or anything good in the world. If you don't like anything that I just said, don't watch the movie. But if you do, watch it.
So that was a mini paragraph. So one sentence from Mickey is,
Okay.
if you do like Starship Troopers, mixed with some Groundhog Day, sprinkle in some Matrix references, you will definitely like this film. And I guess that wraps it up for today.
Yeah. Watch Minority Report as well as Edge of Tomorrow.
All right, guys. That wraps it up for what we have to say today. My name, of course, is Micki Angeles. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at MickCertified.
And my name is Roger Dacosta, and you can find me on Instagram at Salmon Say What.
All right, guys. And for all news and updates, you could always find us at www.simplyputtalk.com. You could like us, subscribe to us. You could even give us a follow at Twitter and Facebook at Simply Put Talk. You could also find us on YouTube and on Lisbon and on SoundCloud as the Simply Put Podcast. Until next time.
Take care, guys.